Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robert Zubrin. I'm going to be the moderator of this panel. I'm also president of the Mars Society. We have quite the lineup here, which I'll introduce in turn, but you've seen it in your book. It includes some really special people. Some with special knowledge of the past of the space program, but with great ideas for where it needs to go in the future, and others who are been running it quite recently, and others who are beginning a new chapter in it altogether. Just going to make a few brief remarks right now, and I'll have some others to make after the concluding of the lineup. People ask, why space? And I generally give three reasons: for the science, for the challenge, and for the future. The science, space, is world-shaping, worldview shaping. You know, we can go to Mars, we can find out the truth about the potential prevalence and diversity of life in the universe. Mars was a warm and wet planet. Life could have evolved there if it is the case, in fact, that life evolves wherever it has suitable physical and chemical conditions. We now know from the Kepler Space Telescope that planets are a general phenomenon in the universe. Planets are everywhere. If life can evolve wherever it has a decent planet, it means life is everywhere. And since the whole history of life on Earth is one of development in various directions, but including those towards more complex forms capable of more activity, intelligence, and in fact ever more rapid evolution, if life is everywhere, it means intelligence is everywhere. It means we're not alone. This is something that thinking men and women have wondered about for thousands of years. We go to space. Create telescopes, we discover previously unknown and unsuspected phenomena of the universe. The Hubble Space Telescope has discovered, among numerous astrophysical phenomena, the fact that the universe is expanding at an accelerating rate. That is something that's simply not physically possible according to the physics that were known when I was a graduate student. Okay? It means there's new forces of nature that are waiting to be discovered. That the laws of nature, the laws of science, we've only read the first couple of chapters of the book. There's a lot more to learn. And historically, a great deal of new physics has been discovered by astronomy. Okay? And when we go to space, we can do astronomy of kinds that are simply not possible on Earth. Then there's the challenge itself. I believe that societies are like individuals. We grow when we're challenged. We stagnate when we do not challenge ourselves. A human space program, an aggressive, bold space program, presents a tremendous bracing challenge to every member of the society that undertakes it, particularly to the youth. Particularly to the youth. It says to every young person, learn your science. You could be an explorer of new worlds. In the United States, when I was growing up, we were doing Apollo. And that was something. I wanted to be part of it, and I wasn't alone. The United States doubled the number of science graduates at every level, high school, college, PhD, during the Apollo period. And we have benefited from that intellectual capital ever since. And I think that what the Emirates are doing right now in starting their own space program is going to have extraordinary benefits that go far beyond anything discovered in space. It will encourage a generation of Emirati youth to want to learn their science. You will get scientists, you will get engineers, you will get inventors, technological entrepreneurs, doctors, medical researchers, the works. Okay, they'll pay you back 10 times over. Okay, and then there is the future. You know, I'm an American, and if you ask any American what happened in the year 1492, they will tell you that Columbus embarked on his voyage, and that is correct. It's happened. But it wasn't the only thing that happened in 1492. In 1492, England and France signed a peace treaty. In 1492, Lorenzo de' Medici died. In 1492, the Borgias took over the papacy. Okay? And if there had been big-time newspapers in 1492, that would have been the headline events. And yet, to those of us today, few people except for history buffs even know about those events. Okay? Columbus, this Italian weaver's son, sailing off in 3 ships off in a direction that nobody had ever come back from before, that's the news that matters to us. Similarly, I believe if we do what we can do today and establish those first human footholds on other worlds, on Mars in particular, and elsewhere, we establish those first little footholds, then 500 years from now, there will be human civilizations, probably several new branches of human civilization on Mars, perhaps on the Moon, but not just there, but on thousands of planets orbiting stars in this region of the galaxy. Okay? Thousands of planets. And an interstellar civilization that will have technologies that will look as wondrous to us today, that would look, if we could see them, as ours would to a person of Columbus's time. Okay? And yet, when they look back at this time, what will they consider important? Will they consider important these various struggles that are going on in various places for power? No, they won't even remember these things. Almost all the factions and governments and so forth that are involved in these struggles today won't even be known to the people then. But they will remember those who made their civilization possible. They will remember those who created the human future. They will have wondrous technologies, but when they look back on this time, they will wonder at us. This time will be remembered because this is when people first set sail for other worlds. Because, yes, there's a lot of reasons to go into space, for the science, for the challenge, for the future. The future is really important. But the future isn't just about the future. The future is about the present. Because our idea of what the future is very much going to affect the present. Ideas have consequences. Good ideas have good consequences. Bad ideas have bad consequences. And very bad ideas have very bad consequences. And the worst idea that there is that there isn't enough to go around, so we're all enemies. Okay? There isn't enough. There's only so much here, and everybody else is using up part of it that we should want. That idea sets everyone against each other. It sets every person against every other person, and in particular, it sets every nation against every other nation. Okay? And that idea was ultimately responsible for the tremendous catastrophes of the 20th century. Okay? Germany needs living space. We have to go out and clear out other territory. It's all nonsense. Germany never needed living space. Germany today has much smaller territory than the Third Reich had, bigger population, and a far higher standard of living. Okay? Because wealth doesn't come from land, it comes from people, it comes from human creativity. Okay? Now you take the world today. China's developing. That's an issue. There are people looking at that and not thinking some very bad ideas about it. And because, as we speak here, there are people not everyone, of course, but there are some people in various think tanks and strategic planning institutions and military colleges who are looking at the rise of China in particular and other such places and saying, oh my God, look at all the resources they're going to use. If the sons and daughters of Chinese peasants go to college, then they're going to have incomes, they're going to buy automobiles, they're going to start using up gasoline and oil, and there's only so much oil in the world, and we have to keep them down because, there isn't enough room in the world for everyone to have a decent standard of living. And I'm quite sure that there are people on the other side of that who are looking at the United States and saying, look at them. They're 4% of the world's population. They're using up 25% of the world's oil. They're using up 25% of this and 25% of that. We got to knock them down, okay? And so forth. And now this is nonsensical, okay? China has benefited enormously by the technological inventiveness of the United States and the West more broadly. That's the basis of their development. Okay, if we were poor, they'd be much poorer. Similarly, the United States is not going to be impoverished by the development of China. If the sons and daughters of Chinese peasants go to college and become scientists and engineers, and China starts contributing technological innovations on a per capita basis, similar to that of the United States in the 20th century, the progress of humanity will accelerate enormously. So this idea that there is only so much go around and we're all competitors for it is untrue. But nevertheless, it persists. It persists despite the spectacular failure of Malthus's prediction. Malthus said, the population expands exponentially, food supply arithmetically, therefore people are always going to be starving, we're never going to escape from poverty. Malthus wrote that the world had a population of 1 billion people, and the average per capita income in the world in today's money was $180 a year, 50 cents a day. That's the world depicted in the novels of Charles Dickens and Victor Hugo, where there are people actually starving to death in London and Paris, the capitals of the world's most advanced nations. Today, the average per capita income is about $10,000. Okay, so it's 50 times as much. 7 billion people on the planet. World's population's gone up 7 times. Per capita income has gone up 50 times. That's 7 squared. Total income, 7 cubed. Okay, but so he's been wrong, but nevertheless, people still believe it. People still believe it. And it's got to be refuted. Now, if we go into space, we go to Mars, we turn Mars from a barren place into a place that people are living at, okay? We establish that there isn't only so much to go around, that frankly, there's no such thing as a natural resource. There's only natural raw materials, that it is human creativity that turns raw materials into resources. We can see this in the history of the Earth. Land was not a resource till we developed agriculture, oil till we developed oil drilling and machines that could use the product, uranium until we developed nuclear power. Space is a very limited resource now, but it could become an enormous resource if we show we have the capability of reaching it. And so by taking on space, by showing that we can reach space and that we're not limited to this one domain, but that there's an infinite open frontier before us, then the more people there are, the better educated they are, the freer they are, the better we all are off. So that's the ultimate stake in this, whether we're all friends and whether we're all enemies. It's only in a world of unlimited resources that all men can be brothers. And by going into space, we establish the basis for that. So thank you.